An old woman took her husband to the doctor. In the hospital, the old man felt unwell. The doctor checked the husband's pulse, then told the woman, "I'm sorry, your husband is dead." The woman was shocked. "I don't believe it. Are you sure? I want to be absolutely sure. Are there any other tests you can do?" The doctor responded, "I'm quite sure, but if you'd like, we do have some alternative tests that we can perform." "Yes, I have to be absolutely certain." The doctor shrugged, sat down on a stool, and yelled out the door, "Send in Mrs. Fluffkins." In walked a black house cat. The cat jumped onto the examination table. Walking carelessly on the unresponsive body of the woman's husband, the cat swatted at the man's face a few times, then jumped off the table, meowed twice, and walked out of the room. "Just as I thought," said the doctor. "Dead. Send in Walter." In walked a Labrador retriever. The dog walked over to the woman's husband, smelled his hand, which was dangling from the table. The dog turned to the doctor, his big expressive eyes raised up to meet the doctor's gaze. Then the dog shook his head and walked out of the room. "Just as I thought," said the doctor. "Dead. Send in Colin." Suddenly a towering Aussie in safari gear burst into the room. A pair of binoculars hung from a strap around his neck. He pulled them up to his eyes, looked at the husband for a second, then turned to the old woman and yelled, "Oh, your husband fucking dead," and walked out of the room. "Thank you, Colin," said the doctor, making a note on his clipboard, then yelled down the hall, "Madame, can you come in here?" An elderly woman walked slowly into the room, peered through her thick glasses at the body of the husband on the exam table, shook her head, then sat down at a typewriter in the corner, clacked away at the keys for a few seconds. Ding! She pulled a card out of the typewriter and handed it to the doctor. The doctor looked at the card. "Dead. Thank you, madam, that'll be all." The doctor suddenly hopped up from his stool. He picked the stool up by the legs and swung it over his head, crashing the seat down on the body of the husband. The husband's lifeless body flailed under the impact, then settled back to rest on the table. The doctor set the stool down, then jotted something on his clipboard. "I'm sorry to inform you that your husband is definitely dead." He handed her a piece of paper detailing the test results. "Take this to the front desk and they'll check you out." The old woman took the slip of paper to the front desk. The receptionist looked it over and, giving the old woman a sad look, said, "I'm sorry for your loss. That will be $32,000. $32,000? That can't possibly be right. I've never paid that much to see the doctor." The receptionist looked over the paper again. "Well, it's $100 copay for the doctor's visit, but then it shows you also requested a CAT scan, a lab report, a colonoscopy, a mammogram, and a stool analysis." In a small town, a young and enthusiastic teacher was doing her best to teach her class of 6-year-olds the importance of sharing and being grateful for what they have. She explained to her eager students that in life, no one could ever have everything they wanted, and that it was essential to learn to appreciate what they did have. As she continued her lesson, she noticed a small hand energetically waving at the back of the classroom. It was little Johnny, known for his mischievousness and wit. The teacher tried her best to ignore him and carry on with her lesson, but little Johnny was persistent. He started calling out, his arm waving frantically. Finally, the teacher could no longer ignore him and said, "Yes, Johnny, what is it?" attempting to maintain her composure. With all eyes on him, little Johnny stood up and confidently announced to the class, "At our house we have everything." Slightly annoyed but also amused, the teacher replied, "Don't be silly, Johnny. Not even the richest person in the world has everything." Unfazed, little Johnny insisted, "We do, miss. My daddy said so just the other day." Curious, the teacher asked, "Now why on earth would your father say such a thing?" With a grin, little Johnny began recounting the events that led to his father's declaration. "Well, you see, my 15-year-old sister came home the other day with her skinhead boyfriend, and she broke the news to my parents that she was pregnant." The teacher's eyes widened, and the entire class was now hanging onto every word. little Johnny continued. That's when my dad, with a look of disbelief on his face, said, God, that's all we needed. A priest and a lawyer decide to step inside a bakery and take a look around. As they peruse the selection, the lawyer quickly spots a tray of warm, delicious buns. He slyly grabs 3 of them and swiftly places them into his pockets. Turning to the priest, he boasts, "That took great skill to steal those buns. The owner didn't even see me." The priest, disapproving of the lawyer's actions, decides to teach his friend a valuable lesson. He replies, "That's just simple thievery. I will show you how to do it the honest way and get the same results." Curious to see how the priest plans to accomplish this, the lawyer watches as the priest approaches the owner of the bakery. The priest calls out to him, "Sir, I want to show you a miracle of the Lord." Intrigued by the prospect of witnessing a divine miracle, the owner comes over to see what the priest is talking about. The priest then asks the owner for a bun. Upon receiving it, he steps outside and hands it to a man who appears to be homeless. The priest goes back inside and repeats the process twice more, each time giving a bun to a different person in need. Once the 3rd bun has been handed out, the owner, expecting to see a miracle, asks the priest, "Okay, my friend, where's the miracle?" The priest, with a knowing smile, replies, "Look in the lawyer's pockets." A young ventriloquist is touring the clubs, and one night he's doing a show in a small club in a small town in Arkansas. With his dummy on his knee, he's going through his usual dumb blonde jokes when a blonde woman in the 4th row stands on her chair and starts shouting, "I've heard enough of your stupid blonde jokes. What makes you think you can stereotype women that way? What does the color of a person's hair have to do with her worth as a human being? It's guys like you who keep women like me from being respected at work and in the community, and from reaching our full potential as a person, because you and your kind continue to perpetuate discrimination against not only blondes, but women in general, and all in the name of humor." The ventriloquist is embarrassed and begins to apologize when the blonde yells, "You stay out of this, mister. I'm talking to that little idiot on your knee." Mary was going on vacation and took a taxi to get to the train station. She boarded the train and was surprised to learn that she had been upgraded to 1st class. So she walks and notices that there is only one man sitting there. She goes to her seat and starts reading her favorite book. Suddenly, she hears a man sneeze very loudly, and when she looks at him, she sees him unzipping his pants, taking out his thing and wiping him off. She was shocked, but was too shy to say anything to the man. About 30 minutes later, the man sneezes again and, of course, unzips his pants, takes out his item, and wipes it off. She was shocked again, but didn't say anything. 15 minutes later, it happens again, and she comes up to the man and says, "This is absolutely disgusting what you are doing, but why do you keep wiping your thing after you sneeze?" The man looks at her and says, "I have a rare disease. Every time I sneeze, I also have an orgasm. This is terrible. Are you taking anything for this?" the woman asked. "Of course," says the man, looking for his bag, taking the bottle in his hand and showing it to her. "Pepper." My friends, if you want to watch other funny jokes, subscribe to the channel.